We were in the grocery store today and we found chicken breasts, boneless, skinless chicken breasts for $1.59 a pound. So I figured today was a great day to make to do some dehydrated meat. The first step when you're going to dehydrate meat is to cook it thoroughly. And so I'm going to pressure cook this in my electric pressure cooker. It won't take me, it'll take about 30 minutes probably to pressure cook that down. I have another one open here. You can see it doesn't need to be cut up. You don't need to do anything to it at all. The main key to successful dehydrating of meats is that you make sure they're very lean, very lean, because you want to keep the fat out of it as much as you can. Now I'm going to add quite a bit of salt to this because I'm going to be drying it. Part of the drying process, you're not only removing moisture, but it helps to kill bacteria and keep the bacteria from growing if you have it fairly salty. So I probably added about a tablespoon of salt. In fact, I think I will do a little bit more just to be really sure. And then I'm adding about 3 cups of water to this pot. I'm probably not going to use the broth because it will be very salty. And now I'm just making sure that the saltiness got all the way down to the bottom of the pot. It feels like it would have by now. Put it on high. So this is a high temperature, the high pressure, and I'm going to process it for 15 minutes. That should be tender enough to make it fork shreddable. So we'll start. Now I can ignore that. That'll turn itself off when it's done, and I can come back to it at my own convenience. This chicken has been finished for a couple of hours. I gave it a chance to cool off. I processed it on high in the pressure cooker for 15 minutes. You can see how tender it is. It's just falling apart in my fingers, and that's what I want it to do. I don't want any chunks. I want to shred it fairly finely and spread it out on this dehydrator rack. Now, if you don't have a dehydrator, it works really well in the oven as well. And so I have this little rack that has a grid. It isn't just one way, it goes both ways, and so the chicken won't fall through as readily. And I'm putting that on a cookie sheet so it doesn't drip in the bottom of my oven when I first put it in there. And I'm just going to do the same thing I did with my other, with my dehydrator. If you have a dehydrator, you know what to do. You put it on high, and on high heat, which is 160 degrees, and it'll take a couple of hours. But if you're doing it in your oven, you want to put it on the lowest temperature that you can, which in my case is 170 degrees. I would like it to be a little bit cooler, but 170 seems to work fine. And I put it on the convection setting, which if you don't have that, it's still going to work, but you might want to turn the cookie sheet a few times as it dries. It will take about an hour and a half in the oven. That little bit of extra heat seems like it really speeds it up. So as soon as I have this rack filled, I'm just going to pop it in the oven and come back and check it after an hour, and then another half an hour after that, and half an hour after that. And when it's completely dry and there's no flexibility, it's almost kind of crisp, then you know that it's ready to store, and it'll store long term really nicely. Meat is dry. The oven meat is ahead of the dehydrator meat. You can see that it's crispy and there's no moisture left in it at all. But I promise you that it will taste good when the water is put back into it. I'll gather up all of the different dehydrated ingredients that I'm going to use to make the complete meals, and I will show you those recipes in the next stage.